When they invented the telephone, the world changed. When they invented the television, the world changed. When they invented the internet, the world changed. And we are living through one of those moments right now. The advent of artificial intelligence is a once in a generation opportunity for us to get involved in technology in a way that we never have had this opportunity before. So here we are, folks. This is the Q&A session from the Rebel Artificial Intelligence Week. We had an amazing presentation from the fabulous Yusuf that will be joining us very, very shortly to help answer your questions. And I've also seen a comment from someone, I think it might have been Bibiana, just to get Yusuf ready and present to the idea that a live demonstration of Perplexity and Notebook LM would be wonderful. And I kind of agree. Yusuf, if you're up for that, and the opportunity presents itself, perhaps with one of the other businesses, we will do a couple more demos, I think, this evening. Who knows what mischief we'll get up to. So welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Rebel School. And I have an announcement to make, which is in the UK, the Department of Work and Pensions is signposting people to take loans to start a business, right? It's just been announced today that this is their new thing that they're launching. It's not new, they've done it before. In partnership with the British Business Bank, they have a 50%, almost a 50% default rate on startup loans. So somehow the system says it's okay to encourage vulnerable people to take on debt to start a business. Guys, this is why we exist. So if you get the opportunity to post something on your social media about the support that you've got from the Rebel School at some point over the next few weeks, and get your friends and family to share the fact that you can get business information, inspiration, and practical help for free. And it's the opposite of what everyone else tells you to do. All right. Now, I've got this really horrible thought. Henry is livid, by the way. Henry rang me this morning at 8 o'clock, climbing the walls that people are being encouraged to take on debt again to start a business. Imagine you're claiming universal credit and you've got a business idea, and someone says it's a really good idea if you borrow money at 7% APR. Like, it's just a joke. And we've shown time and time again that it's possible to start any kind of business without spending any money at all. Sure, you can use money to start a business if you've got it, but why would business is about having money, not owing money. So if any one of your friends and family members or your neighbors, or you hear anyone at the school gate or in a cafe and they say the words, I'm thinking of starting a business, I want you to get them in a headlock, folks, and bring them to their computer so that they can log into Zoom. All they need to do is just watch the first episode of the Side Hustle course where we address that stuff. And don't let go until they've watched it, and then you can let them go just in case they get upset about the fact that you've just grabbed them in a public place, right? So that's my ask of you guys, is to help us spread the message that it's possible to start a business without spending any money. And I know that there are some advocates of that method, some people that are working in the education system and infiltrating the education system from the inside and spreading this information that it's possible to start a business without needing a business plan and without needing money, most importantly. But I'm not going to embarrass that person and let everyone know who is changing business and entrepreneurship education from the inside. Cassandra, your secret's safe with us. Go right, folks. Good. It's lovely to see you all. Let's crack on. Right. Let's see if I can do this bit. Fabi, please, can you make me co-host? I think in all the shenanigans, I now can't do anything except talk. Thank you so much. Beautiful. There we go. Now we should be able to see that. Okay, beautiful. Give me a thumbs up, folks, if you can see the giant letters that say the Side Hustle Experiment. Thank you, Yusuf. Amazing. Right, folks, let's rock and roll then. A quick word about our sponsors. You're bored of hearing this, but let's just remind ourselves, these are the people that recognize that there needs to be an alternative approach to starting a business. Thank you to Camden, Chorley, Bridgend, South River, West Berkshire, Brent, and Uttlesford on behalf of North Essex councils for having the vision and foresight to help their residents start a business debt free. And they've allowed us to open it up to people from all over the world because their residents benefit from that too. So folks, please can you type in the chat where you're from? If you're watching here on YouTube, how lovely to see you. Please drop a like and a subscribe if you can. That would be fabulous. What else? A few announcements about in-person courses. A reminder that we have Brent coming up at the start of December. We have the Royal Borough of Kensington and Chelsea. All of these are on our website, by the way, folks, on the 17th of November. And we're also in Stirling and South Lanarkshire. And next week, we're in Stirling. I was in Scotland the last couple of days, actually. What a beautiful place Scotland is. And yeah, that's the Scottish ones. If you haven't done so already, folks, please can you get involved, share your story with us so we can help promote your business and share with our sponsors and partners the kind of work that we do. And as a reminder, folks, you know what has to happen at the end of this in order to save the fairies. But if you're just tuning in for the first time, you'll be going, what's he on about, saving fairies? This is my ask to folks, please share any feedback with us that you can, because it helps us to keep the course free. We're going to get on to questions very, very shortly. Just before we do the first question, I would like to welcome this evening's co-host. And I think most of you that are here tonight met Yusuf on Monday. I'm pleased to say that his Wi-Fi is cooking tonight. So we will be able to not only hear him, we will be able to see him too. And as the founder of his own AI business called Streamline, what I know to be true is that Yusuf was using AI whilst everyone else was talking about it as a bit of a pipe dream. He was already using it. And as an early adopter of that, that means that Yusuf is way ahead of the game. And we're very privileged to have him on the call. I'm probably going to be putting him under a little more pressure this evening because we'll be answering your questions. When he's in charge of what he's going to say, he knows what's happening. But when members of the public, when rebels type in the Q&A box their deepest and most challenging questions about artificial intelligence, Yusuf and I are going to see if we can figure out how to answer them. And where possible, we'll do a few demos and just see what mischief we can create together. And let's just find out where you're from before I welcome him on, folks. Shropshire, Cornwall, Newbury, Chiswick, Stamford, Manchester, East Sussex, Ealing, Brighton and Hove, Ipswich, London, Brixton, Brent. Oh, we've got some Brenters in. I hope we get to see you at the session in a few weeks. Folks, please. Oh, Pontypool as well. Hello, Pontypool. Folks, please can you find the round of applause emoji or any emoji that you feel fit to welcome the one, the only, the marvelous mechanical Mr. Yusuf Kissy in the house.
Thank you so much for the warm welcome, Simon. And I am so glad to be back with you all today. Of course, alhamdulillah, thank God, with much better internet connection. So I can keep my video on today. And we hope that it holds up as well. So glad to be back with you. And as Simon said, I started in AI near enough 2.5 years ago. And one of the benefits of being an early mover in any space is that you simply get to learn a little bit more than other people that may be starting after you. I share that with you quite simply to say that what I know about AI is more than most and not as much as some. But the good news is that anybody can get started at any point with regards to their level of AI literacy, their AI knowledge, and you can begin to learn that which you need to. And what I would say, to sort of reiterate what we spoke about on Monday, is that there are dozens of new AI tools released every single week. Don't worry about trying to keep up with all of the AI news because there is far too much news for you to be able to stay up to date with. But simply know what you would like to do and focus on learning the bits of information that are relevant to your business and what's going to help you to move forward on a day-to-day basis. So with that, I am more than happy to jump right into the questions for today and stay on my toes as we move through each one of these together.
I love it. Thank you so much, Yusuf, and you're very welcome. And I think to me, I gave a little glimpse of the first question. So actually, as a bit of a warm-up one, before we get into the artificial intelligence ones, let's have a look at one of the questions that was submitted in advance. We'll do that right now. He says confidently, just as the screen disappears. There we go. That's just on purpose to me. Every time everything's running smoothly into, there we go. Right, great. Okay, so the question is, folks, if I feel that I possess all the characteristics and personalities to be successful, I think they mean, I've copied and pasted this directly in their words, but I am not, how can I kickstart and move forward? If I feel that I possess all the characteristics and personalities to succeed, but I'm not, how can I kickstart and move forward? Folks, is this resonating with anybody else? Is anyone else thinking, I feel like I know what to do. I even feel like I know how to do it, but I'm really struggling to get the thing out of the blocks. Please stick the letter Y in the chat if that sounds familiar to you guys. Yes, I thought it might. I had a sixth sense. I know we've covered versions of this in different ways, but I think when someone asks the same question again, or when it's a different group of people, or when we've got an opportunity to explore from a different perspective, I think for me, this is one of those things that you can't hear it enough times. Because I bet it's not binary either. I bet there are some days when you think, let's see if this resonates with you. Good use of emoji, Cassandra, like that. Let's see if this resonates with you guys. There are some days when you feel that you can make progress, and you do make progress, and you feel like you know what you're doing. But there are other days when you feel paralyzed, and there are more days of feeling stuck and not making progress than there are of the ones where you are making progress. Does that make sense? You see what I'm saying here? And what my point here is, it's not universal. So this is a really important part of the process, which is that's normal in my experience, right? Now, I've been doing this on and off since 2003. Rebel School's been going for 13 years. And 13 years in, I don't know if this is going to be helpful or not, but I'm going to say it anyway. My instinct says you need to hear this. It's like that now, 13 years in. There are some days when I feel that we're making loads of progress and everything's going really well, and there are other days where I got a message from Fabi the other day, right? And it makes me laugh when I think about it. We've had a few challenges to deal with over the last couple of years, and blimey, this is the gift that keeps on giving. That was the message that Fabi sent me earlier in the week, and I think that is the challenges of business. It doesn't matter whether it's client issues, whether it's a social media problem. I mean, Alan is tearing his hair out this week from something that happened in the finance school, and for him, that was the gift that kept on giving. I thought they'd cracked it, and then they've had some scammers infiltrate the group and cause problems in the finance school. So Alan and Katie are trying to figure out how to navigate that. It's never happened before. So to me, I want to give you guys the encouragement. I want you to let go of the story that you have to have it all figured out every day. Because you don't. It's not a universal that I'm making progress, I'm not making progress. But we just want to shift the needle so that we can have more days of making progress than not. So let me just dive into specifically how I would answer this question of someone that thinks that they've got the characteristics, they think they've got the personality to succeed, but they're not. How can I kickstart and move forward? It's action to make sales. That is the number one thing that will change everything. My little cousin rang me earlier on. My little cousin's starting a business. I say little, he's about 6'2", slightly taller than me. So my little cousin, who's like nearly 30 and 6'2", my little cousin says that he wants to start his own business as a VA, a virtual assistant. Now, he possesses all of the characteristics and personalities to succeed, but he can't seem to get himself kickstarted and move forward. Why? Because it's fear. He's a bit scared. He's a bit scared of putting himself out there, right? So I'm having this conversation with him. He sent me an email. He's going to hate me for this. He sent me an email, which was his draft initial sales email that he was planning to send out to as many people as possible. Okay. Now, folks, do you think he got that email right first time, or do you think I rewrote it? What do you think? You know the answer, Dave. So actually, I turned it around because the insight that we had was he'd written it about him. He was introducing himself. He said, "My name's James. I'm a virtual assistant. I've got all of these skills. And if you'd be interested in hiring me, then please get in touch." There's nothing wrong with the email at all, but there's a more powerful way of writing it. So we flipped it around. We made it about the client. We rewrote that email for him so that he had a different perspective on how to increase the chances of getting the thing opened. Right, next challenge is he's going to send it to someone. Who's he going to send it to? And he was thinking, well, maybe I'll get a database. Maybe I'll send hundreds of emails out using a platform because it's more efficient like that. So I said to him, so you're going to send unsolicited emails that aren't addressed to an individual without any targeting at all? And he was like, yeah, it doesn't make sense, does it? And I said, well, I kind of get it, though. It does. Nobody does anything that doesn't make sense, right? We all do what makes sense to us at this moment in time. Okay. Now, the thing that we were talking about is the action to take sales. You know, we were talking about LinkedIn, and we were talking about trying to find who his target customer is. And he said, well, why would I target people near where I live? Because it's a virtual assistant. I can sell to anyone in the world. Well, you can sell to anyone in the world, but where are you going to start? Because selling to anyone in the world sounds to me like a really huge group of people. It doesn't sound very targeted. So where do we even start with that stuff? So the first part of this is if you think you've got the characteristics and personalities to get started, but you're struggling to kickstart and move forward, it's because you haven't focused on what you're selling and or who you're selling it to yet. That's part one of the answer. If you know that, if you have focused, then it's all about sales action. And one of the things that you can do if you're not quite sure who your target audience is, how do you find out? Take action to make sales, which basically means have a conversation with someone. So I was saying to my cousin, saying, you know, rather than snorkel with your business idea, you snorkel with your lead generation and go try and hit a couple of hundred people with a very light touch, untargeted, unaddressed email. I'd rather you scuba dive with 10. Go and find 10 people. And what do I mean by scuba dive? I mean, let go of the idea that the first email is going to deliver any results for you. That's part one of a 7-part process. Because that's the other myth, is that when you know, the effort and energy that it takes to make your first sales call or make your first email and send it. And it's like, oh my God, I've sent the first email. What's going to happen? I'll tell you what's going to happen. Nothing. Nothing's going to happen because you haven't completed the process yet. And I think, you know, some of us talk about, you know, fear of failure, and some of us take failure harder, partly for neurodiversity or partly for confidence reasons or partly because it's a comfort zone breach that you've never done anything like this before. Well, you haven't failed yet because you haven't completed the process. The process is send one email, then you follow it up with a second, and then a third one, and then a fourth one to the same person, and then a fifth one. But aren't they going to think I'm annoying? Well, maybe, but you don't know if you don't send it. He said, I don't want to come across as someone that's annoying. I said, too late. He is my cousin. We can have fun like that. But the point of this is, your job is to start a conversation with somebody. That's what your job is. The email is not a mechanism to sell. It's a mechanism to build a relationship. So for that kind of business, I'm saying to him, well, you can find your target customer, go and find business owners of companies of less than 10 people in and around the area where you live, because, you know, 10 or less is probably a sweet spot for a VA, right? And go find them, follow them on LinkedIn, like and comment a couple of posts, then send them the first email that we'd rewritten. And then 3 or 4 days later, you respond to your own email, copy them in and go, hey, you're probably super busy. I wondered if you had the chance to look at this yet. Follow up number 1. follow up number 2 3 or 4 days later, because they're not going to reply, guys. They're too busy and they don't know who you are. Email number 2 is something along the lines of, you're probably super busy and I'm sorry if this is bothering you. Please let me know if you'd love a conversation. Because one of 2 things are going to happen. You're either so busy that you can't respond, in which case you need my help, or these emails are annoying you. Please let me know which one. We're having those kind of conversations because most professional salespeople give up after the 4th follow-up. They make it to 4 or 5 sometimes. And most sales are created from the 6th or 7th follow-up, where most people aren't in the game anymore because they've given up. And I get it, it's tough. It's a comfort zone breach. We take a deep breath and we press send. So if you want to kickstart and move forward, it's a combination of focus and taking action. Now, there's probably a point where you've got to where there's some overwhelm. And that's what focus helps with. It helps to reduce the overwhelm. There's so many things that you could do, but what you're going to do first, how do you choose? You choose the one that lights you up the most, the one that makes most sense to you. And it doesn't matter how many times I get asked this question in different ways. You don't get motivated to do something. You get motivated by doing something. And we have to accept the fact that we're not going to be very good at it when we first go. Going back to my swimming analogy, I want to be a really, really, really good swimmer, but I can't understand why I can't move forward. Well, you haven't got in the pool yet. That would be a good start. You see what I mean? So, lovely. That was a nice one to start with, isn't it? Folks, if anything's come up from that, let me go. Yeah, Anna, thank you. I'll pass that on to him.
Can I add to
Please do, Yusuf.
what you've just shared with regards to that particular question? When you feel like you have the personality, the character traits, when you feel like you have what it takes to succeed and you feel as though you're not quite succeeding, I think it does massively lean back on what Simon said. We have to discipline our disappointments, firstly. All that means is look at yourself objectively and start looking at the controllables. The controllables are the things that you can control, the actions that you can take, and start looking into the actual strategy and the process that you're following, which is getting you whatever results. If you feel like these results are successful or unsuccessful, you got to take a look at the strategy and what you're actually doing. And oftentimes, from my own personal experience, when I felt as though I have perhaps been in action, I feel as though I have what it takes to succeed, but I'm not quite seeing the results that I want. Oftentimes, it did come back to me being reminded that numbers tell the story. And I needed to be aware of the activity that I was doing by tracking it. And then when I had a measure on the activity I was doing, I could have some level of control over it. And then I could adjust my actions to change the kind of results that I was getting. That's what we can do in a more sort of immediate sense. And then the other part about this idea of success is interesting because, of course, we're answering this on in a general sense to everybody. Everybody has a different definition of success. And so perhaps part of it is looking at what you define to be success. And then leaning into that a little bit further is also this is the medicine which you may not want to hear, but of course we have to give the medicine because it's a part of business. It is also having the patience because sometimes you are doing everything right in business. You're taking the right actions. You're doing what you need to do. And oftentimes there is a period of gestation where you have to be patient with the process. And if you continue and you stay consistent doing the right actions, once you've, of course, reviewed your strategy, then no doubt, sure enough, you will end up landing on the kind of results that you're looking for. So to sort of recap what we just mentioned there, look at the strategy, the actions, the measures that you have in place, control the controllables, discipline your disappointments, and then have patience in the process and continue to do that which you know is working because you've reviewed the activities and the actions that you're taking.
I love that, Yusuf. I feel calmer already. I want to acknowledge Carol Ann, who said some days that she feels like she's on top of the world and making massive strides. And then days like today when I feel like I'm going backwards. I get it, Carol Ann. Me too. It's part of the process. And I think, the sooner we acknowledge the fact that, because actually what's super interesting is that probably not much has changed. This is what I find really interesting. In terms of your business, there probably isn't a huge amount that's materially changed in the last 24 hours. But yesterday, everything was fantastic. But today, it isn't. What do you make of that? And there's Alan's favorite expression, got slightly annoying because he's right, is stop thinking, start doing.
Mhm.
And, just acknowledge that sometimes the world looks like it's tough. And other days it looks like anything's possible. Super interesting to me that I know which I prefer. The feeling I prefer is the day when everything feels possible. So, if I feel like anything's possible, it's probably because I'm thinking empowering thoughts rather than disempowering ones. Where we put our focus is what we get. If I focus on feeling happy, I think happy thoughts, I feel happy. Therefore, I'm more likely to take action. If I focus on empowering thoughts, if I think that I can do anything, then I feel empowered and I'm more likely to take action. And it's tricky because there's a lot of stuff out there, folks, that bombards us from different areas of the world and our lives. And I want to acknowledge Sarah's comment as well. Sarah, that sounds hugely difficult. And my heart goes out to you. And this is an opportunity for you to be kind to yourself and, step forward, take a little step outside your comfort zone in a way that feels safe for you. And this is one of the things that we discovered a few years ago. We used to have this opening slide. I think we might have done it on the first week of the side hustle as well. Everything you want in life is waiting for you outside your comfort zone. Otherwise, you'd already have it. So actually, I acknowledge every single person on the call, everybody that's watching on YouTube, everybody that's watching on Catch Up Later. The fact that you are having a go at something is amazing. You're already stepping out of your comfort zone by jumping on a call with a bunch of strangers and exploring business ideas and sharing what you're sharing in the chat. That in itself is an act of love for yourself. That's kindness. That's you saying, I want to have a go at something, right? And good for you. Just remember, you don't have to have it all figured out in one go. In fact, if you have, I'll be really cross because it's taken me 22 years to get to the level of knowledge and experience that I have now. And now I'm still waking up some days feeling like I'm on top of the world, and then other days wondering if I'm on the right planet. Right? So it is part of the process. And remember, folks, we're not accepting, and this is why we're rebels. This is why it's the rebel school. We're not accepting the same path that everybody else takes. We're choosing a different path by exploring making our own money. And that's amazing. What we're doing is we're swapping one set of problems for a different set of problems. When we're working for someone else, we have the problem of, I don't really want to get up today and go to that place again and see those faces and have to deal with that boss or have to deal with that work coach. I don't want to do it. So when we're choosing an employment route, those are the problems. We've suspended our soul, right? Because we're giving our time 8 hours a day to everybody else and making someone else rich. I've been exploring this with some senior people in corporate life. The ones that are really enjoying their job, they're like, I really like this challenge. And there are others going, I can't wait to get out, but I can't figure out how to get out of the rat race because I've got a mortgage to pay. How do I even transition? Right. So the path that we're taking, folks, is that we're saying we don't want those problems. We want different problems, which is, how do I figure out my social media? Because the payoff is I get to work where I want, with who I want, when I want, and I'm opening up the possibility that I can make more money doing something that I love doing versus making regular money doing something that I hate doing. Therefore, if that's the journey you've chosen, don't expect it to be a smooth ride. It's choppy. And I think if I have expectations that I've got it all figured out, I'm likely to be disappointed, is my
Mm,
experience.
mm,
If I have expectations that I'm going to learn something, I'm less likely to be disappointed. If I have expectations that it's going to be challenging at times, then guess what? It probably will be. But let go of your expectations of yourself that you need to have everything figured out, because you don't. But the action that you take accelerates the process of getting to a place where there's more comfort. It's a different set of problems. You're going to have a different set of problems in a year's time. If you took loads of action, the problems that you'll be facing is, I've got to deliver this stuff now. How am I going to do that? I'm too busy. Well, you'll figure it out because you'll have cash, and then you can pay someone else to do the things that you don't want to do. That's the process. Right, Yusuf, I feel like I'm getting preachy, so let me just take a breath. I'm getting into this, folks. Yes,
awesome. Awesome.
take the Kool-Aid,
Wicked.
everybody. Simon's off on one. I've not had my medication, so nurse. Right, Yusuf, what I would like you to do is, have you seen Cassandra's question? Because I think, given that you were with, have you seen the Q&A?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So,
Cassandra's question at the top of the Q&A, I'll read it out for everybody in a second.
yeah.
Knowing that you've been in a college
Mm,
today, actually, in
yes.
central London, and that have been um, gracefully navigating the challenges of working with teenagers
Mm,
today, on behalf of the Rebel School, for that, I thank you. Your
thank you.
patience is outstanding.
No, no.
Um, I'd love you to explore this question with me. What should I be teaching young people about AI? I proactively teach them about effective prompts, how to have it challenge their learning rather than just tell them the answers, etc. I have ideas myself. It will be great to hear your thoughts. Bear in mind, education is super protective
Mm.
around AI. Oh, they're not letting us play with the stuff, are they? That's not fair, is it? What's your take on that, Yusuf? What's your sense of AI for younguns?
I think it's a fascinating question. As Simon mentioned, I was in a college earlier today, Capital City College, doing a session for the students. And later on, in fact, just about an hour ago, I saw a video on LinkedIn of professors in America absolutely losing their composure and raging at their students, saying that they are not to use ChatGPT. They've been warned against it, and so on and so on and so forth. So I do appreciate that education can be super protective around the usage of AI. And what I explained to the students today, inevitably AI came up. I think AI is one of these tools where it's going to touch every single industry. And it's not about whether or not it will, it's simply about how it is we use it. And so there are some things which will remain fundamental and intrinsic to just being human. And one of the greatest gifts that we have as human beings is the gift of our imagination, right? It's the gift of our imagination. And personally, whenever I get the opportunity to speak with young people, I am very intentional about encouraging them to experiment and to really get stuck in with things and to try things as many times as they possibly can. And I experienced this myself as a teenager where I was deadly afraid of a four-letter word beginning with F and ending in L.
Wonder where you were going with that, Yusuf.
Fail, right? Failing. I was deadly afraid of failing. And as I explained to the students today, I said, look, don't be afraid of failure because to fail is simply your first attempt in learning. And if you can embrace the idea that you're going to fail, we're all professional failures because every single one of us has failed at some point in our lives, whether it be the baby who stands up and takes his first two steps for the first time ever. Parents go wild and celebrate the child, and then the child falls over and fails at walking. We don't say to the child, you failed at walking, you're no good at this, just stay down, you're never gonna be able to walk. The child or the baby fails, and we encourage. And this is the same message that I love to take to young people as often as I can. Don't be afraid of failing. See it as an experiment, see it as an opportunity to learn. And nowadays, with tools like AI, you have the opportunity to fail and fail safe. very quickly. So you get to speed up your rate of learning because you can iterate and test different ideas with these AI programs without actually having to go into certain things. And I had to remind them also of the most critical aspect. As I said, one of our greatest gifts is the gift of our imagination. I had to remind them that their biggest advantage of them actually currently being in college right now and studying is that they have the ability to exercise critical thinking. And we all, at some point in some way, we need to exercise this muscle of critical thinking because this is literally what separates us from AI. AI is incredibly good at recognizing patterns. It's so good that it makes you believe that it's thinking, but it's not. It's just going through a series of patterns extremely quickly, fast enough that it can give you answers that actually make sense and are coherent. But outside of that, AI is unable to imagine. AI is unable to come up with new ideas. AI is unable to critically think in the same way that we can as human beings. So we really need to encourage our youth and our young people to, yeah, of course, use AI. There's lots of tools out there. Get stuck in, but do not stop exercising your muscle of critical thinking and use AI to test as many different ideas as you can. Explore with it in a safe way and have fun with it.
I love
Uh,
that. You've
so
given me a
sounds
couple of extra thoughts, Yusuf. May I
Of
contribute?
course, absolutely, absolutely.
So there's something here about building business models around the activity that young people are already doing that I think is really interesting, right? So part of the reason for that is you'll know better than anyone, Cassandra, that they're in a world where adults and the government and the system decides what they have to learn, whereas entrepreneurship is flipping that on its head and it's building their education around what they're interested in. My experience of this is trying to find out what a young person is interested in is in itself quite a challenge because the answer is normally sleeping. If you ask the question, my experience of that, what you like, what do you like to do? Eat and sleep. Is that all? Is that all you do? Right. Um, so we got to change the question, right? Now, yeah, exactly. My son, my eldest, when he should have been doing his GCSEs, thought that March, so bearing in mind he was in exam year, in March he decided, wouldn't it be brilliant if he set up a Call of Duty clan with his friends? Could you just wait 2 months? That's all you can do. You can do it for the whole summer. Do you, like now? Now you want to create merchandise and sell it to people? Brilliant. Right now, what he was doing whilst he should have been studying for his exams was he was striking up conversations with people whilst playing Call of Duty, finding out what clothing that they were into, what trainers they wanted, sourcing it for them on eBay and Depop, and then they would come around the house or he would post out this stuff, and we just get people turning up buying pairs of Nikes off of him. And I'm like, what are you doing? He said, I got these customers on, he was making £100 a week selling trainers and clothing that he was flipping online. He was finding stuff, sourcing it for people from people that he'd met. Now, I think that's quite interesting. The second one, and I was chatting to Harry about this at the weekend, my middle son, this was about the using the music software to create music and then making it available on TikTok for soundtracks for people that like posting videos. So imagine that you're into Minecraft, make a song about Minecraft, take you about 45 seconds, upload it to TikTok and make it available for people to put on their videos. Stuff like that, I think, is really interesting. I've got the most traction, I think, with young people when you help them to realize that they can leverage the size of their audience because a lot of these kids have got a bigger social media following than most adults because they know thousands of people already because they've been online constantly on TikTok for 5 years, right? So there's something interesting about that. There's something interesting about play and gamification. I think those are the themes that come up for me. It was called Suno. Jessica was the music maker. There's a few of them, but that was the one that I was messing around with. Good. Right. Let's keep rolling. I just wanted to acknowledge YouTubers. Good evening to YouTubers. Multi-tech spec made me laugh. I went to Business Mania today. It was a load of toot. Glad Rebel exists. I get more value. Well, acknowledge you and thank you for telling us that you're glad that we exist. So am I. I'm not sure what I do. What would I do if Rebel didn't exist? I don't know. What else? We've got a question here, which is about, in terms of taking action, this is multi-tech spec again. In terms of taking action, would it be better to build an MVP of a product or service to get our first sale? Or is it better to validate the product or service through asking questions to our target? I think that's a really cool question. I think my sense of that, and feel free to chip in, Yusuf here. My sense of that is sales first. And actually, the conversations that you have, it might be that without knowing what your product is, but breaking your product development down into phases, the same way that a builder might build a house. Let's say it's £100,000 project to build a house, but phase 1 is 20,000, phase 2 is 10,000, phase 3 is 30,000, and there's certain milestones that you can agree with your client to hit. I'm much more of a sales first person. I mean, sure, go and ask some questions, but sale if you can, and that will come from trust. It will come from direct conversation. It might be that you can make an MVP quickly that doesn't require loads and loads of time. So I guess it depends on if there's a cost implication that I'm looking for a free way, like they used to do and probably still do, but less of a need for it now in Silicon Valley. If you wanted to get funding for an app, you wouldn't build the app 7 or 8 years ago. You would build a slide deck and make the slide deck work as if it was the app, so that you can visualize how it's going to work and what it's going to look like. You don't need the MVP. You just need to know what it's going to look like. A little bit like, if I was creating a clothing business, I wouldn't actually need to make the t-shirts and the hoodies and the hats anymore. I can use tech to create them for me so that they look real. This is what they're going to look like. How many would you like? So I think sales first is the direction that I'd take. And that will involve, ironically, asking some great questions. For example, if I was to do X for you, what would be the dream version of it? What would you need this to do? And for what purpose? What does that mean for you and for your business if this product or service is up and running? Asking some questions like that and say, I want to build that for you. Can I come back to you with a few ideas as to how we could work together? And then you can go away, come up with a proposal with 3 options in the proposal, and then pitch back. Option 1 looks like this. Option 2 looks like this. Option 3 is this. Which of those 3 makes most sense to you? What don't you like about this proposal? So I think that's how I would approach it. Sales first.
I do agree with the sales first approach. I think it's critical to get to that point of asking for the sale, because that's really the only point that you know whether or not somebody is willing to part with their cash or their money to invest in the idea that you've got. And just as Simon said, with those 3 options that you're going to present, my recommendation is always present the most premium option first, and then the middle tier, and then finally the lowest tier. Psychologically, people feel like they're losing out when you start higher and go lower. And so they'll often opt for the middle option or the best option rather than feeling like they're getting the lowest tier option, so to speak. So yeah, definitely start with sales and let that be the focus.
Very nice. What I'd like you to do, folks, is I would like you to speak into the camera right now. If you're watching on camera, please type it in the chat or the comments. What I would like you to say is these words: I am in sales. I am in sales. Please, everybody, type it in. Say it out loud. Type it in. Do both. Find the fitting emoji. I'm really loving this new look, Pete. What does Hannah think of this moustache? No. I thought that might get you there. Not a fan. I think it's very Top Gun. So I don't even know if it is. I think it is. Great, folks, because this is really, going back to Alan and Katie's session a couple of weeks ago about logical levels, that we need to get used to the idea that we're now in sales. If I am in sales, that means I have to talk to humans or find a mechanism by which I can talk with humans about the product or service that I'm selling. And whether that's online via text messages, direct messages, comments, social media posts, phone calls, face-to-face pitches, whatever that means for you and your business, the more of those interactions that you have, the more likely you are to get out of the blocks and get the results you want. And that's my message. Right, Yusuf, a question. Should we answer an AI question, or should we answer a very searching question from VJ who wants to know what the Rebel business model is? I'm not sure if I want to answer that question or not yet. Maybe I will. Would you like to do an AI one?
Yes, let's find another AI question to answer.
Okay, cool. If you would you like me to choose one, or have you got one that you'd like to have a go at?
Let's see. So I think one of these questions came in earlier this week. It's quite a long question. Which one was it? It was cell number 203, that one.
Okay,
I'll read it out loud so that everybody knows what the question was. It's quite a long question, so I'm going to try and answer this one in bits and pieces because we can't sort of answer it all at once. The whole question is, I would like to know if there are AI platforms that can help me with creating funnels, generating leads, doing automations, etc. I was also wondering if there are AI platforms that can generate images and help me with voice recording apart from Fathom and Gemini, as I need to pay for them and I would like to access a free version to start with. I'm currently using ChatGPT and Claude. I'm also wondering if there's a basic course on how to use AI in business. That would be a great opportunity. Thank you. So the first part of the question being an AI platform specifically that can help with creating funnels and generating leads and doing automations. A free platform, which I had a quick look at. I haven't used this myself, and I'm always cautious about recommending platforms that I haven't used myself. So to give you an answer, one of these platforms is called system.io. That is spelt systeme.io. And they have a free plan which can enable you to build out funnels, to do email marketing, and up to one automation and workflow. So that's a platform that you could use. It has some decent payment integrations as well. So that can help you on that front of creating funnels, generating leads, and doing automations. If it's something that you wanted to do yourself, perhaps with, I would say, less limitations, then I would refer back to what we discussed on Monday, and I would dive into using Kit, KIT, which is formerly ConvertKit as a platform, simply because, again, it has unlimited emails that you can send out. It's entirely free as well, and you can have up to 10,000 email subscribers. And you can also build out email automations and the rest of it, which will help you to generate leads. You can also create landing pages, etc., inside of Kit. And the AI side of that would simply be consulting either ChatGPT or Claude. I do have a bias towards Claude now because for me, it works better for the questions that I ask it and the way that I think with it. You can ask Claude to help you with building out some of these marketing funnels and doing certain automations. If you're not sure how to do something yourself, nowadays AI can guide you largely step by step to help you to do these different bits. In terms of AI platforms that can generate images, there is a platform called Midjourney. I believe that is a very good platform for creating images. Again, simply by using that prompts, you type to it in English and then it will spit out an image and then you can type back and forth to make edits. Midjourney is one of these platforms. And voice recording, my personal favorite, and I've tried four different AI voice recorders within the last 2 months or so. My personal favorite is Fathom. I'm currently on the free plan myself, and it does give you up to 5 AI analyzed recordings per month. And then even thereafter, it will still give you video recordings of your meetings, etc. They just won't have the AI analysis behind it, but there's plenty available on the free plan as well. And the other reason I recommend Fathom personally is because out of the different meeting recorders that I tried, it has the best transcription. So it's the best tool that is good at capturing the accuracy of what's said inside of meetings. I did use a different AI tool for an important business call that I had, and it changed somebody's name from Rahul, Rahul, to Rory, Rory. And they are very different names. And I'm not going to mention which AI recorder I use for that because I don't want to talk down on them. But I can say that I didn't have that issue with Fathom, so I would recommend Fathom. So that answers those two questions. And then if we are looking for um, a basic course on how to use AI in business. In all honesty, there are dozens of these courses available. In fact, one thing that you can do is you can go on Coursera and you can find these courses. There's so many of them to do with AI, and you can actually participate in them entirely for free. And if you want to get a certificate, then you would have to pay for that, or you'd have to have a Coursera membership. But you can literally have a go at all of these different AI courses available for free on Coursera. LinkedIn has them as well. And I can find a post which has many different links to free courses from Google, etc. And I can get that sent over to the Rebel team to send out to you guys as well. So um, one of the Rebel support staff on this meeting, please make a note of that and send that to me for me to get the list of different free AI courses that people can do. Please note that down so we've got it captured, and I'll find that and I'll share that with you so that everybody can have access to these free courses. They're done by Google and they're brilliant and they're free. So yeah, plenty that you can get stuck into there. I hope that answers the question. And if it's still not clear, then please put the question into the Q&A box and we'll expand on that as well.
Very good. Love it, Yusuf. Oh, I meant to tell you, I got a call back from Sophia. Guys, if you were
Really?
watching the session with Yusuf on AI, and I said, can you call me back at 9:30? Guess what happened? She called me back. We're going for coffee on Wednesday. So I'll let you know how that goes, guys. She seems very nice.
Really? Incredible.
That would be weird, wouldn't it? If I should turn up for coffee and then there's a robot sat in the chair, like, and stood up and said, "Hello, Simon, nice to meet you." That'd be really weird. We're probably not that far away, but we are some distance from that, folks.
Yeah.
But there we go. Yeah, we swapped ideas, and yeah, we've got some similar interests, so that's great. There's a great question from Danny, which I want to share with everybody because, guys, I'd like your help to answer this question. I'll share it on the screen. So Danny is a brilliant campaigner for supporting people with disabilities, and in particular around business and so on. He's asked this question: if you could ask one question to government about AI, disability, and entrepreneurship, what would it be? Asking for a friend. So, folks, if you've got any insights as to what question could we ask the government about AI and people with disabilities linked to entrepreneurship, what would it be? Please, can you have a little consideration of that and type your answers in the chat so that Danny can harvest them and add that to his list. I'm sure he's got a few questions. I think the one that springs to mind for me, Danny, is who is it in government that can collaborate with you, Danny, and the Rebel School to help us change the way that entrepreneurship is taught and increase opportunities of participation for people with disabilities? I think it's such a key moment in the life cycle of business and entrepreneurship. We've got this tool. Imagine how empowering that it could be for people with disabilities. I think it's amazing. In fact, I was listening to for those that are in the UK, there's a guy called Chris who's a comedian that did Strictly Come Dancing who's blind. Did anyone watch Strictly? You know what I'm talking about, don't you? I don't watch the show, I hasten to add. However, I know probably I should. Apparently, I'm some sort of social pariah for not watching it. I think I'm the only person in the UK that doesn't watch this. Anyway, I like this guy. He was super interesting. He was talking about how he gets AI to describe his when he's shopping. The AI, like, he takes a picture of it, uploads it, and then AI describes the thing to him. And he said that AI is much more patient than human beings when it comes to describing products, which I think is super cool. McCawson, thank you, Bibiana. Oh, good. There's more. I'm not the only one. Excellent. Thank you for giving me that confidence, folks. So yeah, to recap, Danny, the question that I would like to ask, maybe it's a different version, is how could you collaborate with the Rebel School and Danny Sparrow to accelerate opportunities for people with disabilities and entrepreneurship using AI? That's what I'd like. That's what I'd really like to do. And yeah, I know we're going to have more conversations about this in the coming weeks. I have a feeling. Good. Thank you, everybody, for that. What else? Yusuf, do you want to answer Garino's question to camera, or I see you're typing. This is a great system. I can see what you're doing.
It's incredible that you can see I'm typing there. But
Feel free to type, by the way.
I'll go ahead and answer it, seeing as we can. It's actually faster to speak than it is to type. I have another AI platform to share with you on that specifically, but we'll get into that. So the question is, what is the advantage of Perplexity over the other AI you showed us yesterday? So Perplexity is a web search platform. It's designed for search. The reason why that is better is because if you're using something like ChatGPT or Claude and you're searching through ChatGPT or Claude, the way that the program has been designed isn't necessarily for search. It's been designed to give you answers as a, I want to try and avoid the jargon. It's been designed to give you answers to your questions, but it's not necessarily designed to be the most effective at searching for the information that you've asked it for and then providing you with the sources behind it. So let me give you this example. Sometimes you'll find with programs like ChatGPT or these other AI platforms you can use is that they have what's called a hallucination. All that means is that they make something up by themselves, simply so that they can give you some kind of an answer. Now, this does happen. Some of these AI models are prone to this happening, and it can't necessarily be entirely eliminated. That's where Perplexity completely helps with eliminating what we call these hallucinations, because the information that it gives you inside of the answer that it returns to you also comes with sources of links to show you where it got that information from to provide you with the answers. So essentially, Perplexity is a platform that helps you to get more accurate answers to the questions or the things that you would search for over and above simply using something like ChatGPT. And I hope that answers your question. If it doesn't, then please, again, type it in the Q&A and we'll come to it as well.
That's a great answer. What do you think about scripts? So Mel's asked the question, I'm a hypnotherapist. Which app should I use to voice record my hypnotic scripts? And I know Fabi's going to type his version of the answer there too. But I wonder if you, as head of voice recording at the Rebel School, Yusuf, among other things, what was the, have you got a sense of which one you might use for that?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's not free. That's the caveat. I'll share that with you up front. And it is one of the best platforms for very clearly capturing your voice with extremely high fidelity. It is called 11 Labs. I think I mentioned it on Monday. I'll type it to your question anyway. ELEVEN LABS 11 Labs. On one of their programs, one of their account tiers, I think it's near enough around about £20 per month or just thereunder. It will enable you to be able to capture your voice. You can use a professional microphone as well. You can record your voice. You need an audio sample of at least 30 minutes, anywhere between 30 minutes and 2 hours will enable you to create a professional voice clone. And it's fascinating because it will provide voices that really do sound human. For example, the voice agent Sophia that spoke with Simon, that is a real voice. It's a friend of ours who gladly recorded her voice inside of our 11 Labs account so that we could make use of her voice. One of the benefits of recording your voice, if you want to make it available to other people, is that 11 Labs will pay you for making your voice available inside of its library of voices. And although it may not be much, it's still some kind of a remuneration that might be useful for you, in addition to your intentions of having to capture your voice and what you would like to use your own voice for. So 11 Labs would be the platform that I would recommend simply because I use it myself. It's the platform that we use for all of our voice agents, and it's robust, tried and tested. So that would be my recommendation for you.
Love it. Thank you, Yusuf. So I knew you were the right person to answer that one. Right, folks. I think the question that caught my attention was one from Bibiana, who says, "How long does it take to become a certified AI, and how this is going to help you land a good job, i.e., customer success manager?" Yeah, so I understand the question. I think this is my reminder is that as an unregulated industry, as such, it's possible for you to get work, and it's possible for you to launch a business as an AI professional, as an expert, as a consultant, as a trainer, and all things AI without any kind of certification whatsoever. Now, I know you know this, guys, but I'm going to say it anyway. Some people think that they need a certificate before they go do a thing. It does very much depend on who your customer is. So, for example, the work that I do as a coach, there are some companies, usually the larger organizations, that would want me to be a member of the International Coaches Federation before they would hire me as a coach. So I'd have to go down that certification route. I don't tend to go down that route because I prefer to go down the route of delivering the best coaching that I possibly can and going for those customers that don't require bits of paper. Because what happens is it's the practical experience that they get. It's like it's funny. One of the pieces of work that I did when I started coaching senior leaders in big brands in 2012, I didn't have any coaching qualifications at all, none. But the results that I was getting were great. And obviously, since then, I've done some learning and I've developed my skills as a coach. And I realized that I didn't really know what I was doing. However, the client loved the results that I was getting, and I didn't need a certificate in collaborative leadership to be an expert in collaborative leadership, because I'd chosen a different path. There's a practitioner's path, being practical, what actually works. I don't know what the models are. I don't know what the learning program is, but from my experience, I'll take you through a process that I know will get you the results. Did it again recently with a senior team in a food company, one of the biggest ones in the UK, top team, no qualifications in collaboration at all. But I know how to get a fantastic result. So I'm down the practical pathway. And if it was me, Bibiana, I know that the question is linked to employment, so I totally understand the question. If it was me, I'd be going down the practitioner's route. As a business owner, if someone came to me and said, I can help you integrate artificial intelligence into your business, I wouldn't ask to see their certificates. I've never been asked to see the certificate. I want to know, can they do the job? Do I trust them? And is there evidence that they're able to give me the result that I want? That said, there are, as Yusuf said, to build on what he was saying about getting trained in AI, there are two things that I think I would do, specifically answering your question. Number one, I would experiment with ChatGPT prompts to become my AI trainer. So I would give it the prompts and say, I want you to give me a lesson every single day. I want you to help me become an artificial intelligence expert. Specifically, what I want to learn is X, Y, and Z for this sector, like customer service, for example. And I want you to treat me like I know nothing. Take me from zero and help me become an AI expert and integrate it and come out, design me a training program. And I want each lesson to be 20 minutes. And I want you to do it step by step. And I don't want to use any AI tools that cost money. I want to integrate free ones for now. When I start making money, I'll do the paid ones. So I'd be experimenting and like get the thing to train you, which I think is kind of cool. The second part of my answer, the website that I'm quite interested in, there's plenty of them, but to build on what Yusuf was saying about Coursera, there is a website called Class Central, and Class Central has got some of the top universities in the world posting free courses, and there's thousands of them. And there's over 15,000 AI courses on there that are free. And just as a little life hack for anyone that is thinking of getting a job, I did a little experiment where I did one of the free courses from a university in the Netherlands, and then I put the qualification that I didn't get. All I said was I was studying insert subject title in this university in the Netherlands, and I put it at the top of my CV, and then I fired it in to see if I'd get an interview. Guess what happened? Right. And it was because I'd done a free course. I didn't have a certificate. But I was able to say on my CV that I'd studied at the University of Ujimaflip, whatever, and I can't remember the name of the city, and put the course title in there and a couple of sentences about the kind of learning that I was doing. They didn't know it was a free course. They didn't know it was online learning. I've only been to Holland twice, and I'm not going to tell you what happened. So, leveraging the free courses and actually putting them at the top of the CV to show that, I typed in December 2023, University of whatever it was called, insert title, a couple of sentences, right at the top. This is the most recent thing. So when they do the paper sift, which they'll probably be using AI for, they're looking for keywords. So the keyword, like the CV was full of all the keywords. I didn't have a qualification, Bibiana. I did do the work. I did do some studying because it was fun. It was interesting. I learned some stuff. I had no intention of, going all the way, but it was interesting. Interesting. So that would be my approach. So this is a reminder about practical versus academic. Guys, you're in business now, you're entrepreneurial, which means let's have a conversation with my customer and find out what their needs are and see if I can help them. No certificates required. But if you wanted to upgrade your learning and knowledge and skills and experience, there's so much free stuff out there. And the final thing I do is get the damn thing to train me in it. Because it never says no, seems, to these things, these sorts of questions. So, what should we do next? Let's answer the business model question, and then we'll go to the next AI one, Yusuf, after that, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, of course.
Just out of interest, folks, I know some of you might know this already, but just out of interest, I wanted to share with you our business model because VJ asked. VJ says, can I please ask what is your business model? And how do you make money? I have a vague idea on how it works, me too, but it would be nice to know if I can associate with local authorities and offer my services. Folks, is it only VJ that's interested in this? Does anyone else want to know? Oh, Dot. Oh, Miroslava wants to know as well. Okay. There's a few of you. All right, then I'll tell you. In fact, it probably makes sense if I tell you where it came from. So in 2008, something happened with banks. Do you remember that? Then there was something called austerity in the UK. Do you remember that? So all of the funding for business support disappeared off a cliff overnight. Councils stopped spending money. Lots of organisations had to close over the course of a couple of years. The only organisations left with a chair when the music stopped were social housing providers. They had community, they had cash, and they had a desire to help people in their communities to start businesses. So we pitched to them. So the first part of this business model is about saying, based on the work that we do, who cares about this as much as us? For whatever reason, there's different reasons. Councils care about it. Social housing providers care about it. Prisons care about it. Schools, colleges, universities care about it. There are lots of people that are interested in supporting all sorts of different groups of people around the world for all sorts of different reasons. So this is about using enterprise as a tool for social change. Okay, so we have to find out who cares about it. It turns out that heads of economic development and councils care about it. And VJ, your question here, And for anyone else that wants to work with local authorities or wants to get paid by either social housing or public sector or third sector organizations or even private sector, what we need to do is we need to find out who cares most about the product or service that you're delivering. So Sonia's been exploring this in terms of healthy eating and teaching people how to cook healthy food in her community, for example. Dot might be interested in this to sell presentation skills training to help build confidence of people living in communities that are residents of social housing. There's lots of different applications of this. So this is a model that we sometimes describe as the Robin Hood model, which basically is there's no arrows involved. Basically, we'll go and find somebody that's got money to pay for the stuff that we do so that we can keep it free for everybody. This is really, really important for us because it's such a scammy industry, because everyone and their cat wants to get you to pay for business advice and coaching and guidance and mentoring and this and that and this and that. But our model means that you can trust what we're saying. We've only got one, because we don't sell anything to you guys. Our business model is we find the money, put on the event, and get as many people to show up as we can and demonstrate as much impact as we can. The more impact that we have, the more sponsorship conversations we can have. And we've started to do more with private sector over the last few years, because it turns out that they've got a reputation problem, or it turns out that they're making 30,000 people redundant. And we would like to talk to those sorts of companies to go, rather than let people fall off a cliff with their income, why don't you work with us to, and I've done this before, I did this with Nokia years ago. We ran an entrepreneurial program within Nokia when Nokia was closed after it got bought by Microsoft. Thousands of people lost their jobs in the UK. And we were looking at it differently, going, oh, wait a minute, there's a bunch of people that are really smart, they've got skills, they've got experience, and a desire to start their own business. There's ESG targets, which basically means for VJ, for your model, it might mean that companies or councils want social impact. That might be why they might pay you. So our model is to find someone who wants to pay so that we can give it away for free. That's how it works. And I have to say, if we did upsell stuff, I'd probably be on an island in the Caribbean that I'd bought myself. But we've actively chosen not to do that because we want to keep the advice pure. For example, if a bank is giving you business advice, do they have an ulterior motive? Right. So that's why we have the model that we have, is it means that it keeps it pure. The only thing that we want is for as many people to be successful as possible. That's our only vested interest, is you winning. So you can trust it. That's what it's all about. We don't have all the answers, but we'll get them. We'll figure it out together. I think I've shared enough under the hood. What do you think, Yusuf?
I think that is very clear and very thorough. Thank you, Simon.
Okay, awesome. Should we do the next AI one that was on your list, if you got one there?
Okay, let's have a look back at this. Okay. Okay, this was, I think, one that I might have answered for uh, the same question that was asked inside of here. I'll read it out anyway. The question is, I started to use Rebel ChatGPT Marketing Manager. Great job for getting into it. Well done. And the next part of the question is, it started asking me questions and then it stopped and asked me to upgrade. Why is that? So with regards to the Rebel Marketing Director GPT, if you are on a free plan with ChatGPT, then it will have certain limitations on how much you can use it within a certain period of time. That's simply how ChatGPT manages the usage of its platform for members that are not on a paid plan. So the way around that is quite simply to wait a few hours and then come back to that same thread and then can basically pick up where you left off essentially. They put in certain limitations to sort of slow down people who are not paying for the platform from using it, and then yeah, it just requires a bit more patience. I think most of these AI platforms that are free do have a limit to how much you can use them before they slow you down or stop you for a few hours, essentially.
Very cool. Thank you, Yusuf.
Thanks, son.
Bibiana asks another question about
Mm.
there's so many people on the ticking talk talking about the best prompts for this, the best prompts for that. Is it that difficult to create the perfect prompts? Probably there's so much I don't know, hence the question. I've seen this. What I found, I don't know about you, I'm sure you've been experimenting with more than one prompt a day for some time now, Yusuf. So I get your take on this too. My sense of this one is um, I've I have been a little you know that thing in Disney movies when the snake's eyes start doing that?
Mhm.
When I start reading these prompt things, I go, activating God mode on GPT. Like that looks like fun. What's that prompt look like? And I've always gone, I have been a little bit drawn into some of that stuff, but my personal experience is they're interesting. They're
Mm.
interesting. In fact, the more that you play with them, the better. But where I've got the best results, Bibiana, is that sense of play for myself when it comes to prompts, right? So you probably heard me a minute ago when I was just riffing on the kind of prompts that I would put in if I was going to get ChatGPT or Copilot to create a course for me. The more specific you are about what you want, but also leaving room and that capsule question of ask me anything else you need to give me the best possible answer type catch-all at the end. I found the more that I construct my own prompts and play with it, the better quality the prompts are. Sure, I can get some ideas from others, but there's no substitute for rolling your sleeves up and cracking
Mm.
on and playing with it and just having a go. What do you think, Yusuf? Have you found a mechanism of or a template of the prompt that lights you up, or are you a bit like me and get into mischief and type as many different things as you can to experiment?
I'm entirely with you on this, Simon. I think what you'll see on TikTok and on social media is a lot of people that capitalize on the fact that AI is a hot topic. And so they'll say they have the best prompts of 2025 or the best prompts for this or for that, not to invalidate what they're sharing. Um, and there's two parts to it. There is just getting the prompts so that you have them and then you can use them, which may get you a result or it might get you an answer. And then there is Simon's approach and my approach, which is actually going back and forth with an AI model so that you can actually learn how to prompt. And this takes me back to exactly what I said to the students at Capital City College today, which was don't let go, don't lose that muscle of critical thinking because you can get to the answer. It's like if you use a calculator to calculate 9,000 times 647, no doubt you're going to get to it straight away with a calculator, which is brilliant. So you get the result. However, if you take the time to write it down on pen and paper, and if you do the mental math calculation, then you're exercising your brain. And I believe that is the real benefit. This is what we must not let go of as human beings, simply because we have AI to make things much easier for us. So the encouragement is get stuck into an AI model, play with it, learn it, ask it to tell you things that you might be missing out or things that you should ask it, and just continue to experiment with it. At least that way, you will still get the answer. You also have the added benefit of learning how you can construct the prompts that you want to use because someone else will give you their templates and what works for them. But by iterating and playing, you get to see what works for you.
I love that. You've just reminded me of a game I play with the kids where you get a random object and we play the It Can Be game. And the creativity that all kids are the same, right? You say like, here's a box, right? Well, it can be a hat, it can be a dress, it can be a surfboard, it can be this and that. I think that mentality, because this thing, like, it's building in real time, and it's the opposite of what most of us have experienced growing up, where there's a thing and somebody is an expert in the thing and they will teach us the thing. That's why I have sort of a bit of a wry smile about folk that are saying that AI experts, and then I'm like, who's an AI expert? It's only
Nobody.
been here 5 minutes. Do you know what I mean? So actually, like, reverse engineering this stuff and thinking about it in the sense that you're an AI expert
Mhm.
just as much as anybody else because it's so new. And sure, there might be a few people ahead of the game. And it made me laugh that Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi have got their course that started tonight. I wasn't sure if any of you guys were going to show up. I thought you were going to get to see Dean and Tony. And they said, we've interviewed the world's greatest AI. Mate, it's only about 5 minutes old. What I would rather you do, instead of sitting on, and I'm glad you've chosen this because it's a little shorter tonight because it's only a couple of hours rather than three. I'm sure there's stuff to learn, not to devalue that they are excellent at what they do, don't get me wrong. But I just wonder if you invested 6 hours in buggering about with AI yourself, you know what I mean? And maybe in a room with a couple of other people doing the same thing and doing that, like collaborative kind of, well, what have you figured out? Oh, what prompts are you using? That's how to treat this stuff. There's no one out there that's going to teach you the this and the that and this and that. There's just a few of us that have got a few more insights than others. And there are some people that are excellent at turning it into a marketing package that gazillions of people sign up to because they go, oh, because they get marketing. Boy, are they good at marketing. Like if you want to learn how to promote yourself, then listen to and watch and read the sort of stuff that they do, not to copy it, but to be inspired and find your voice and find your way of doing it. That's my take on this. I don't know if I'm talking nonsense here. Okay, so what else should we do? There's a couple of questions in the Q&A, Yusuf. Dot
Which
says,
version?
let's look at Dot's one. Which version? Let's do that one. Which version of free ChatGPT do you use or mean? This is because mine claimed several times he was unable to recall the previous thread, resulting in, that's happened to me as well, Dot. That happened to me yesterday. Do you know what happens, right? This is what I discovered yesterday after spending probably about 30 minutes crafting a response. It asked me a bunch of questions, and in one thread, I was answering all of the questions. And then I got distracted, which sometimes happens. And I know some of you know what I mean. And you click the other window to go and look at whatever the thing was distracting me. And then I came back and it had all gone. And I was like, no, right? It sometimes happens. But I personally, I've upgraded to the Copilot version because it's linked to all of our software. So I use Microsoft's one. Turns out Microsoft doesn't like the fact that I use it on a Mac and it hasn't authenticated the product. So I'm now stuck in a loop of I'm spending money on Copilot for a system that I can't use. So I'll go over to back to I've got to find, I've got to log in and I've got to get it authenticated. It doesn't work. It doesn't appear in the list. I've got to ring an advisor. I haven't got time for that. So I just go, at the moment, I'm just, do you know what? I've moved on with life. I've got really good, it's actually trained me to write really, really good prompts in ChatGPT, knowing that I'm on the free version, so it's going to kick me out of it fairly soon. But I found it useful. I found it's given me everything that I need. That's the one that I use. I haven't used Claude yet. I've messed around with Gemini a little bit. Got to be honest, my personal favorite. And I think this is just familiarity. I tend to use ChatGPT more than anything else at the moment because it hasn't failed to authenticate my whatever it's called. I can't be asked. I really can't. But what about you, Yusuf? What's your weapon of choice?
I'm absolutely loving Claude. I want to share my screen with you really quickly because there is something that you can do for memory, quote unquote memory, inside of ChatGPT. So this is an entirely free account on ChatGPT. And say, for example, you've opened up the Road Marketing Director and you actually want to use this to get an email sequence. But before you want to set this up, what you want to do is you want to go to settings. So once you've opened up settings by clicking on your name, go to settings, open that up, then come over here to personalization. Once you're at personalization, then you can turn on customization if you like, but the important thing is that you scroll down to where it says memory and then turn both of these on. So you want to make sure that it has reference save memories on, and you want to make sure that it has reference chat history on as well. And so what that will do is it will be able to refer back to previous conversations that you've had, even if, say, for example, you leave the conversation and come back to it, it will still be able to pick up where you've left off. Again, it may have some limitations because you're still going to be on a free version, but this is the way that you can make the most of it remembering what you were speaking about the last time.
Nice. Loving that. Okay, shall we dive into another question, Yusuf? Are you ready?
Do it. Yeah.
There was a question about copyright, actually, and about who owns your stuff. What about AI building a website? I think that was a Giovanna question. I'm going to post that in the comments, but I'll read it out for the folks on YouTube as well. About AI building website, who owns the copyright? If using my own images and logo, do I need to protect my logo? What about the images I have? Will they be available to others to use?
Mm. It's a very good question. So I spoke about this partially on Monday. Um, if you, for example, give your images to Gemini or ChatGPT, there are things that you can do inside of the settings where you can request that these programs don't use your data for training their own models, which means if I take a photograph myself of uh, a mug, right? I take a photograph of this mug and I upload it into ChatGPT or Gemini and ask it to change the color from these red details to blue details, then there's settings already before I even make that upload that I can select to request that ChatGPT or Gemini or these AI programs are not going to use my information to train their programs, which should limit the likelihood of it then reusing your image without your consent or without your rights, essentially. If you're asking ChatGPT or Gemini to generate an image from you from scratch, then the image that it creates for you, it may also create for somebody else. But that's because it's generated the image itself and it gives you the opportunity to use the images, but it just says that you may not have exclusive usage over these particular images. When it comes to building an absolute website, say from scratch, there are some fascinating AI programs that can do it for you. And it honestly it varies depending on the platform that you're using. Some of them will give you rights to use whatever else it generates. These are usually in an instance where you're on a paid plan. Some of them may even offer you rights to use whatever it's created on free plans as well. It does depend entirely on the platform itself. One thing that I will, again, just share with you for an example, an actual live example that now lives on my particular website. I'll share my screen with you again. Here we go. So on my particular website, I wanted to create a missed call calculator. So I'm just going to scroll right down to it, which is right here. As you can see, it's a missed call calculator. Somebody can put in how many calls they have a month and what they miss and so on and so forth. I made this using this program called Bolt. Now, Bolt isn't entirely, well, you can pay for it if you'd like, but I created this app, this widget, entirely for free inside of Bolt. And all I did was I spoke with Claude and I asked Claude to give me the prompt that I would paste into Bolt to create this missed call calculator. And it's entirely functional. So I share that with you to say that some of these platforms may literally give you the opportunity to use the things that you create on their platform. You can use them entirely for commercial purposes, etc. It just means that it's going to have its own logo on there as well. Like bolt.new, as you saw on my website, it's there for advertising purposes. That's part of what they offer you. So the short answer is it depends entirely upon the platform, and it will be very clear with you about the terms and conditions and usage rights, etc. But don't let that stop you from testing, experimenting, and creating with these platforms because you can do it much faster.
Very cool. And I think like to build on that, the if you're using like I think Giovanni, you said you use Canva. I think did I dream that? I think you said Canva. So the overall design of the thing, it's yours. The design of it is yours, but the elements within it are Canva elements, so they own the copyright to those things. But your own images, in the case of Canva, you own those. The second part of your question about protecting them, here's the thing I've got about protection, especially for images. And a friend of mine is a photographer he watermarks his images, and he's spent quite a lot of time hunting people that are using his pictures without permission. And there's software that you can use to do that, right? And I bet there's some of you on this call that have done that too. And that is a tricky thing. What I would say is ask the music industry how easy it is to protect your IP in 2025. Right? It's really tricky, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Because everything's available. Everything's available. And I think where I want you to put your focus, Giovanna, not Bibiana. You're not doing photos, Bibiana, are you? Why not? You should be a photographer. Why? What have you been doing with your time? Giovanna, two Inianas in one go. Giovanna, what I would like you to think about is where you put your focus as the results that you get. So if you put your focus in fear and scarcity, you will feel scared and you'll be frustrated that people might be stealing your stuff. If you put your focus in sales, you are more likely to make sales. In 2025, it's never been more possible to grab anything you want, because we all do it, don't we? Like, we find stuff on the internet that we like the look of, and if we don't use AI to create it, we borrow it. It's going to happen. Where I want you to put your focus is in sales, because for most of us, a small number of customers is a life-changing number. If you focus on what you haven't got, you'll get scarcity. If you focus on what you could create, you'll get creativity. Cool. Oh yes, somebody asked about the food business. Yeah, there's quite a few food businesses, Dina, in the Rebel support group, so feel free to put a post in there. The specific business that you I think we're talking about is this one, which is Sonia Okabule, one of our rebels from Kent. Good. I don't know what that software is, but I'll see if I can find it before the end of the session. If not, I'll stick it in the support group. Okay. So, how are we doing, folks? Are you all? Is everyone all right? This is, it's AI stuff. It's heavy, isn't it? It can be a bit. Shh. Right, please find your favorite emoji, everybody. Stick it in the chat now. Keep it clean. And let's check in with YouTube. How are you doing, YouTube? You all right? I see Deborah's here, giving notes about the Robinhood business model on enterprises engines for social change. Thank you for making notes for everybody as we go. I appreciate that. Are you a VA, Deborah? And Multitech Spec says with the AI certification route, it depends on the clients. If it's enterprises you want, they may want a cloud certificate in AI. They are generally poorly done, to be honest, but these sort of clients like it. And I love that comment. It's kind of saying, look, some people might want you to have a bit of paper before they'll let you anywhere near their systems, but there are thousands and thousands and thousands of small, medium, and large clients that just want to know whether you can do the job or not. You don't necessarily need a certificate. Let your results speak for themselves. Thank you for the emoji, everybody. That was exciting. Good stuff. I think I like the doves, Caroline. I like that one. Giovanna's gone for the largest emoji I've ever seen. And I don't know what that is, Cassandra, but it's great. Is that an otter? Okay, cool. Close enough to a pigeon. Yeah, very good. Liking the autumnal theme, Anita, as well. Thank you. Good stuff. Any other questions that you like the look of, Yusuf? I think we're getting to this, folks.
There's one here about someone who's a copywriter. Oh, I've just lost okay, let me bring it back up again. Okay. I can relate to this question because, again, I have a background in copywriting as well. Copywriting is what I was doing before I started my AI business with my business partner. So let me read out the question here. The question starts, Unfortunately, I couldn't attend the session on Monday. Family came down with winter bugs, so we hope your family is doing better now. The question being, I'm a copywriter and I see a lot of influencers either telling me I must use AI or get left behind, or telling me how awful generative AI writing is and to avoid it at all costs. But I very rarely see anyone talking about the ethics of using generative AI tools, since their very premise is based on the theft of other writers, artists, musicians, filmmakers, etc., plus the environmental cost, plus the unknown personal data breaches. So this is quite a big one to unpack. I saw the first part of this question and thought I knew what the entire question was about, but I will lean into this. So with regards to the ethics around AI, it's an interesting one because AI is what large language models like your ChatGPT, your Claude, your Gemini, so on and so forth. All of them are trained on information that is already made available to them. And there are certain nuances in humanity which are simply amplified by AI. For example, if there are uh, biases against certain demographics of people normally in society, and these biases are also captured in data because AI is trained on that data. The same biases tend to show up inside of these AI programs and these AI models. And inside of the realm of AI ethics, a big part of the conversation now is simply ensuring that there are guardrails and a lot of governance around AI and ensuring that the data that it is trained on is deliberately combed through to ensure that biases that may show up in society are not exasperated and exponentially shown in the use of like AI programs and AI models. And there's a variety of different biases that we're all aware of in society. Yeah. So we don't need to necessarily dive into those specifically. When it comes to using AI as a copywriter, again, my personal opinion is AI is incredibly good for first drafts. So you can use it to create first drafts. And then once you've got a first draft, you still need to have the skill set as a copywriter, which I'm sure you do, to comb through what it's given you and actually make sense of what's really good. And then you remove the bits which are bad and you simply put your fingerprints on it. So if you need to come up with uh, a seven email welcome sequence, then great. AI can get you those first drafts made and ready. Then you want to go into it, and as we said on Monday, put your human touch on it. Go through it line by line, make sure that everything makes sense, following the same fundamental rules of being a good copywriter, and it's simply going to help you to do the work that you would do just faster. So use it as a tool because that's what it's been designed for. And with regards to the ethics of using AI, this is where, again, we get to be a bit more vocal with those who are putting policies in place around AI and tell them, hey, we want to make sure that we have unbiased AI programs, please. So we get to push that box. Again, I'm in different conversations. Part of it being I am part of a community called Black AI Futures, and that is quite simply talking about how we can ensure that AI also works for the Black community. Because generally speaking, in society, there are different biases which have hindered Black people or Asian people or BAME communities, whatever phrase you want to call it. And this also does show up in AI models. So part of me being a part of that community is being involved in the conversations around how we can ethically train AI to make sure that it's fair and that it works for everybody, rather than it being a tool that continues to magnify the disproportionality that we already see inside of society. And I'll leave it there without going down that rabbit hole, but I hope that answers that question.
I think that's a great answer, and it really highlights the issues. I think that there's a question actually from, I think it was Judy Yusuf. If I can get it's in the chat.
Mhm.
A few up from Thanis's giant thumbs up emoji. Thank you for your service, Thanis. that so she's tagged you in that one. I'd love to just have a little look at that question, and whilst you're reading that, I'm going to give you my take on everything that's just been said.
Mhm.
Yes, there are biases. Yes, there are some uncomfortable truths about where information has come from, and you might not like a lot of the stuff that's happening, folks. Totally get that, but remember, you get what you focus on. If you focus on the things that you don't like about it, you'll get discomfort. If you focus on how you might want to use this as a tool, and I have to say, folks, I'm accepting of the fact that it has its limitations. This to me feels a little bit like it's gold rush territory. You know, when they discovered gold in North America, and then there were folk that were creating mines literally with their bare hands to dig for gold. And were there safety measures in place? Unlikely. Were there members of the public that were put at risk? Were there people that sadly died? Were there some awful things that were going on? Yes, because it was an unregulated industry. It was a brand new industry, and people were rushing to make it happen. Now, I don't know about you. Uh, I would rather surf a wave than get smacked in the face by it. And I think this is our opportunity. If we accept the fact that this is not perfect and accept the fact that there are limitations, we can either fight it, and it's a bit like standing under the Niagara Falls and trying to put the water back. It's already here, folks. So my invitation to you is to experiment and play and focus on what you could make happen from it. And but also to Yusuf's point, be mindful that it's not a perfect tool. And as a citizen, that we might want to have a voice and make ourselves heard. Meanwhile, it's here, isn't it? So get on with it.
Mm. Okay. I think there's this question from Judy, and again, I think Simon is absolutely right. This isn't something that we can necessarily reverse. Some time ago, people used to ride the horse and carriage, and then along came the car, and here we are now. We couldn't stop that technology from expanding because it was in a way unstoppable. And AI is much like that in the sense of it being a massive daily part of our lives now. So it's not about trying to stop it. It is certainly about trying to mitigate the damage that it can cause and putting in the right guardrails to make sure that it can be safely used or as safely used as possible. To dive into Judy's question, what is the best AI integration for customer service, like asking contact details, an automation for that, or even setting up a diary like appointment taking? So I can tell you exactly which programs you can use for this. I will also just say upfront and honest that these are not necessarily free programs, but you can use them to be able to create these kind of customer service automations. One that is simple enough or seemingly simple enough is ManyChat. If you have customer communication that happens a lot through WhatsApp, then ManyChat would be a platform that you can use in order for you to create customer service responses, which are largely automated and based off of what you can call like a knowledge base, basically the brain of the AI agent, which will respond to your customer inquiries based on like an FAQ sheet that you can give it. That would be something simple that you can use if WhatsApp is one of these channels that you use for customer service. If it is coming from your website, for example, somebody lands on your website and they fill out a form and you want an automation to be triggered so that it can follow up with a client and then get them booked in for a meeting. If you want that to happen over a chat experience, then there are different platforms you can use. Personally, I would recommend VoiceFlow because that's one that I have used myself. VoiceFlow, that is. And then if you wanted to build an AI voice agent, then you would be looking at Retail AI. And again, I can type all of these into the chat so that you can see them, so to speak. And in the background, you're going to be connecting them up with another platform called make.com. Again, I'm sharing all of this with you because it's all out there anyway. Yes, you can learn these things yourself, because there's lots of videos out there in terms of how to do it yourself. So if you have the time and the patience, then you can get these things set up without having to pay somebody else to do it. And it will incur some platform costs. But I guess to the point of like automating your customer service, my sincere opinion as an AI consultant and as somebody that understands business, until you have the genuine problem of I have too many customers to get back to, there's no point even looking at AI.
Yes,
My
Yusuf, I love
personal
that.
opinion is like AI is built for scale. So go ahead and give yourself the problem of I'm pulling my hair out because I've got hundreds of customers to respond to and I can't do it all. Like get to the point where you have the problem first before you try and throw in the solution. This is a big issue which I am cautioning in. I don't know if that's a real word or not.
It is now. It is now.
The big issue which I'm making businesses aware of is saying, look, before you go throw AI or your business, pump the brakes. Let's look at a strategy here and see, do you actually need it? Where do you need it? And why do you think you need it? So yeah, to your point, Judy, get yourself the problem first. And once you've got the problem, you can pay somebody else to sort out the solution for you. Otherwise, I wouldn't spend the time trying to figure it out for the time being. Get the problem first. It's a very good problem to have.
There's something about having that insight, isn't there? Of like, I need to know if before I can design the system, I need to
Mhm.
know what the process is. And even now, 13 years in, we're still changing how we do our processes and creating new ones that we probably should have had years ago. And thank goodness for the Rebel team to make that happen. But I think
Mhm.
if we were trying to design and put in a system that was AI generated system right at the start, we wouldn't have the insight. So without me sounding like a broken record, everybody go and sell something,
Mhm.
and then you'll make cash. And when you make cash, it ranks right up there with oxygen for a business owner. And you can then solve the rest of your problems in style. And if you're interested in learning this stuff, if you think, yeah, here's the distinction I want to make. If you think you are interested enough in learning how to put these tools together and experimenting with the real in-depth stuff, I'm saying like every single person jump on, play with it, and see what you can learn and see what you can create. Absolutely do that. But these heavier use automations and systems that talk to each other and so on, this is for those folk that really are getting into it. My watch out here is that doesn't become a dopamine slash procrastination source. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's like I could sit for the next, 4 or 5 hours a day and trying to figure out stuff, forget what I'm even doing it for, and then get a little bit lost and a little bit overwhelmed with everything. Meanwhile, I haven't made any sales. So it's about understanding like there is a risk that we might use some of this stuff to avoid the thing that we actually should be doing, which is speaking, texting, ringing, pitching to, having conversations with, posting on social media, whatever sales activity is right for you and for your business. Just the watch out here is that you don't get obsessed with the idea of having to automate your voice and your feet and your spreadsheets and let it talk to your ears or whatever. You don't need to do that stuff. What I want you guys to do is to focus on making sales and know that there are AI tools out there to help you to be more productive so that you can get more done. But that's not the same as spending hours and hours trying to automate everything. You get my point, right?
Mhm.
Basically saying go and
What?
sell something and use these tools to accelerate your ability to make sales, not to
Mhm.
avoid doing the thing that you should really be doing because it's a bit scary talking to strangers. That's the bit I wanted to say. Love it. Yusuf, I think the time is upon us, folks. It's
I was really
9:53.
enjoying it.
You do. I mean, some of
Yeah.
these guys that you're losing the will to live listening to us too, aren't you? Like literally. When did do it? Were they ever going to thank you, Amanda, for being so honest? Um, sometimes I think like I've even frozen on the screen myself. I'm just like
Mhm.
staring. Guys, it's time. It's time to go home. Haven't you got homes to go to? Right. So in a moment, I'll share with you some closing thoughts. Thank you very much, everybody, for your contribution tonight. Thank you to Yusuf. Please, a round of applause for Yusuf for giving up his time for us rebels this evening. You can emoji that. You can do it visually using your actual hands. Thank you, Cassandra and Ella and Dot, for doing that. Bibiana. Speaking of using tech, I was in Glasgow yesterday, and we're looking for somewhere to have breakfast. And like James Henry and I, we're staring at our phone, our Google Maps open on our phones, and there was a breakfast place that was right opposite, and we were looking on like, where should we have breakfast? So there's this little watch out with technology. We do need to get in the room, and there is something about that which I'll come on to in a second. Yusuf, is there anything that you'd like to say to these guys before I wrap this evening session?
One thing I would say is, again, we've already mentioned it, and don't let fear be the thing that stops you from experimenting, right? Because it's not about whether or not this is AI. AI is just one more thing that you could be afraid of, but there's tons of different things that you could be stopped by because of fear. But do not let fear be the thing that stops you from taking action. I want to share this last analogy with you with regards to fear, right? Sometimes fear comes knocking at the door, right? Fear comes knocking at the door. Fear and doubt, they usually come together. They're partners in crime, knocking at your door. And if you choose to answer that door, you choose to open that door with faith and courage, then what you find is that there was nothing really there in the first place. Because fear is simply false evidence appearing real. Don't let the fear of a tool, which is what it is, AI, it's just a virtual tool. Don't let the fear of it stop you from getting into it and taking advantage of it. Look beyond your fear, right? And then learn how you can embrace it, play with it, experiment, and feel free to do that as safely as you possibly can. That would be my final message for you all today.
I don't need to add anything else. Everybody, thank you so much for joining. Yusuf, you're incredible. Thank you, everybody. Please, please, please give us feedback at the end of the session, or else Fabian's going to drive to my house and he's going to imprison me until I've got feedback from every single person on this call, folks. You'll see it when the Zoom window closes. Monday evening, the Donegans are back, and it's amazing. It's a celebration, folks, because it's week 10. We might have a couple of announcements of bonus sessions, but week 10 happens on Monday, the final session with the Donegans. And of course, you're going to love it. It's really going to help you get activated to get things done that you need to get done. And we've got some announcements to share with you on Monday, which I think you're really going to like, because there might be prizes involved. Everybody, thank you so much. Enjoy your evening. What's left of it. Have a good sleep. Love you. Bye.